Hello, welcome to the new show. We're setting up something a little bit more conversational here on the channel, where we're going to watch some really strange niche films that you've been meaning to see but have been a bit intimidated to do so, and we report back and we tell you about the terrible and weird and twisted and niche movies that we watch. Jay, what are we watching?
Well, we Soldiers of Strange have done our expedition out and dove straight into TETSUO the Iron Man. So it's a 1989 Japanese cyberpunk body horror film, written, produced, edited, and directed by the infamous Shinya Tsukamoto. I mean, this film's absolutely insane. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's a low-budget, underground indie film. It gave Tsukamoto his international recognition, but the production itself was a bit intimidating. Shot over 18 months. With pretty much every member of crew apparently quitting the film by the end of production, aside from the lead actor Tsukamoto and Kei Fujiwara, who plays the girlfriend in the film. But overall, the film's really interesting. It's really cool. It's kind of got surrealist elements, body horror elements. It's about a metal fetishist who is hit in a hit and run, and he sort of begins to haunt and attack the salaryman who hit him. It's a really hard film to describe past that, I feel. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a really weird and twisted watch that it's so fast-paced that it wouldn't have fit any longer than the hour that it is. While everything obviously is quite cobbled together on an incredibly tight budget and with a crew that is just gradually dripping away from the production of the film itself, it kind of feels that it's, even amongst all of the incredibly breakneck stuff and all of the really twisted ideas that come out in the film, everything feels quite handmade, and it feels like a very personal project for Tsukamoto, despite how twisted it becomes. Even in the prosthetics and the makeup and the design of the Iron Man come the end of his transformation.
It's crazy how much love has clearly gone into this film. And that's almost weird to say, considering how strange the film is. Like, you kind of wouldn't watch it and associate it with passion, but it's definitely there. I mean, I'm sure we'll go in depth to that, but it's interesting you bring up the budget constraints, because there's a couple little facts here I want to drip with you and see what you think.
Okay.
So, like I said, the crew shot the film over 18 months, primarily in Fujiwara's apartment, Fujiwara being the girlfriend character who also was cinematographer for basically any scenes that she wasn't in. Tsukamoto himself plays the metal fetishist, the guy who gets hit. Tomororo Taguchi, I'm probably butchering that, he plays the main character. And an interesting fact here, like I said, by the end of production, most of the crew had broke with Tsukamoto because the filming conditions were so difficult. Nearly the entire crew, apart from Taguchi, lived on set. They would work, sleep on set, constantly around Tsukamoto and the rest of the crew. And it was such a toxic environment. Tsukamoto himself later admitted he considered burning the film's negative before the end of production because the whole thing had been such a bad experience.
Yeah, I mean, given how small the production is, I probably would have quit as well. I mean, considering how tiny that apartment is, you can even see it on film, and the amount of work that must have gone into it. One shot in particular where the girlfriend character is on top of the salaryman, and it's hard to describe, but they're boning, and he's got a drill for a penis, something we haven't yet discussed, which is
honestly, we're jumping around a bit, but we will eventually have to come to the drill penis.
We will get to the drill penis, don't worry. But there is a shot where just blood is just pouring out the back of her and just covering the curtains behind. And you've got to think, if that was such a small apartment, not only did they wake up that morning knowing that they would have to do that, they knew they were going to have to clean it up as well, ready for the next day of shoot. It seems really, really pointlessly difficult for them.
Oh my god, there's so many aspects of just the production of this where you're like, why would you ever do this in the same place you sleep?
Honest, and all the stuff that they did and all the shots that come out of this film, you've got to think, that apartment must have stank, man. Must have been gross.
Oh, the stuff you would have woken up next to. I'm thinking like his like hand props and the... Oh my god, somebody had to set up the drill penis. Somebody woke up and went, wait, what shots are we doing today? Oh, I have to set up Taguchi's drill penis.
Somebody pulled the trigger that spanned the penis.
Oh my
Somebody
God.
on set was in control of the penis, and that was their job that day.
So we've been talking about this film a bit now. It's a really weird film. And we're going to go a bit more in depth at the end about the actual production and the techniques and the artistry of the film. But it's also interesting to look at the context of this. I mean, this is a film that is considered the peak masterpiece of Japanese cyber body horror. Like, it kind of set the tone for a lot of other stuff that came later down the line. Obviously, though, the film's weird. It struggled to find an audience. But it happened to be shown at the horror film festival called Fanta Festival in Rome in 1989. And it received the highest award for Best Film. And it kind of came out of nowhere because the screening wasn't necessarily meant to be this big, big name thing. Nobody was expecting it. It didn't even have subtitles because the filmmakers, Tsukamoto, he couldn't afford to add subtitles.
And it still won Best Film.
And it still won Best Film.
Wow.
It did well enough, was given a limited release theatrically in Japan, went to the States by 92, and it was kind of slowly building. And next thing you know, the film's kind of being highly regarded as this new auteur Japanese cinema. But what I think's most interesting is TETSUO the Iron Man is known heavily in Japan for kind of bringing in this new wave of independent cinema. I mean, it just exploded after that. So TETSUO the Iron Man, more than being a peak of body horror, became this kind of shepherd for weird Japanese independent cinema. And I totally get it.
I think that to put together a film that is so all around in its sort of storytelling, but was also only an hour long and was made on a budget made from the savings from a full-time job and was made over 18 months, is inherently DIY. And I think that would have done a lot for young filmmakers in showing that no matter how ridiculous or insane or niche your ideas are, you can make that film on an incredibly limited budget as long as you have the right people attached to it.
I see bits in this film where I'm like, this is a very good, simple film language technique used effectively, and they knew they could use this because of the budget constraints, and there's clearly a lot of thought and reasoning behind every move.
It's like when it comes to films like this, there's almost like a lineage of the inspiration that it flows through. It's so obvious that this is exactly what Tarantino would love, especially when you look at films like, say, Kill Bill, in terms of its gore. That trickles back. You can see that in Tetsuo, and then from Tetsuo, you can see it in Sanjuro from Akira Kurosawa, because looking into Tsukamoto, one of his favourite films is Kurosawa, and you can tell from the presentation of the gore in this film that it really drips all the way back from Kurosawa down to Tarantino, and Tetsuo is almost like this middleman that carries all of these styles and techniques right the way down into modern cinema.
We talked briefly about the visuals as far as the special effects, but how actually incredible do they look? Like, something about those special effects, those prosthetics, even though they're clearly made like on the cheap from old machine parts and all by hand, with the look of those parts in combination with the black and white and the way it's aged so well on the 16mm, it looks phenomenal.
Yeah, I was really impressed by the makeup on this one, because, like you said, it's very obviously cobbled together, but pairing that with the black and white footage, you sort of just, you lose that idea that it was something that somebody had glued on somebody's face. Something about it felt, as the sort of growth sort of spurted up and grew over the salaryman, it felt really claustrophobic. Like it wasn't just metal was growing out of his body, it was almost like collaborating with his flesh and growing into something entirely different. It didn't feel like he was just full of metal, it felt like he was becoming the metal itself. And I think that's really impressive in the way of the practical effects and their usage.
The special effects, the prosthetics, the unique editing decisions in the stop motion animation, the montages. Oh my god, this film has some of the most gorgeous montages, like, for its theme. It's absolutely mind-blowing, some of the stuff they've been able to pull off with just simple editing techniques, fades, good music choices. Some of the music in this film as well, incredible.
Yeah, I did want to talk about some of the music. I mean, in a chase scene where the fetishist takes over a woman at a train station. Yeah, that pounding industrial as she chases him through really tight corridors. It really beats you over the head, and it contributes to something that I found in this film is that everything feels quite claustrophobic. A lot of camera work is incredibly tight to its actors, and the presentation of the fetishist in this sort of existential world that he lives in, and that sort of in almost the machine and the muddy water that he sits in, it feels really sort of grotesque and unsanitary, and getting so close to that just is inherently uncomfortable.
I loved little bits in particular. I think there's little bits here that I can already feel are going to stay with me. Specific shots, things like that. I think of, do you remember at the start, he gets the screw. He's cut his leg and he gets the screw, and he grinds it through his teeth.
Yeah. Oh God.
That stuck with me.
God, it just implies something much deeper and much more grotesque, and it's very involving, especially as you watch this man cut open his leg and you watch him stick it in his leg after he's run it through his mouth. It makes it feel really, really uncomfortable. You feel quite dirty watching it. I mean, the maggots don't help that, but...
Oh my God, those maggots. That freaked me out. I was like, all right, because eventually we will have to talk about some of the weirder parts of this film. And you and I love cinema and we love films, but we're still human, right? I don't want anyone watching this to think that we're going to go, yeah, it's weird and really auteur. No, some of it is just really fucking weird.
It's really grim, a lot of it.
Yeah, but also I'm just confused, right? Because I totally understand the idea you show him with the screw and he puts it into his leg because he's a metal fetishist. That's one thing. But there's a whole other thing where he then is surprised that the wound is infected and filled with maggots. And you're like, dude, how did you not expect this to happen? You're sat
this
in
has
muddy
never
water.
happened before.
I know, right? But it's like, dude, just don't. Just don't. What did you think of the acting performances, the characters?
I thought they were really deliciously hammy. I mean, especially the salaryman. It was sort of like when he was pained, he was really, really pained. And it was sometimes it's almost funny, but just to sort of alleviate the grim tension of a man that's finding himself imbued with more and more like grim metal pieces.
I mean, like, it's a short film, like, not short, but a relatively short film. And, you kind of got to explore things as quick as you can. So every actor and every character is an exaggeration of their traits, for sure. I mean, the salaryman is, like, extra scared all the time. The metal fetishist is extra, like, out there and weird and angry and evil all the time. And also the girlfriend is, like, extremely sexual all the time.
Oh, it's a weirdly horny film, especially given its like subject matter, and obviously the lead antagonist is a fetishist of some descript.
It's so horny. Right, we've come to the section of the episode we have to talk about the drill penis. It's drill penis time. Everyone, it's drill penis time. It's time to talk about the drill penis. So, I'm curious when the drill penis... I made physical notes here. I've got little notes. I have exactly the note where the drill penis showed up. I'm curious, do you have a note that you remember being from the drill penis showing up?
In my notes, my note when it showed up was penis drill, haha.
I've just put drill erection, fuck my life.
I want that on my gravestone.
The thing is, the drill penis would be one thing. It's the part where it fires up through the coffee table where they're sat. And the girlfriend afterwards is like, what was that? And it's like, you kind of saw what it was. I think it's as simple as it appears. It's just a drill penis. Like, there's not a lot to dig into there. It's just a drill penis.
You sort of just accept it and move on, really. When it shows up, it's like, oh, that is a drill for a penis. But then it's not so out of the ordinary for this film, because there's nothing ordinary about it.
Yeah, if the two characters hadn't just been like... Oh, wait, was that after or before the tentacle sodomizing?
Oh, this is post-tentacle sodomy.
This is post-tentacle sodomy. There's two halves of Tetsuo, pre and post tentacle sodomy. Right, we should explain this before we get like taken down. So there is a part in the film where there's sort of like a dream sequence, and the salaryman's girlfriend has like a snake robot tentacle thing strap on, I guess, and is doing some nice kind of dancing with it. I would say nice. It's not nice. It's really weird. And the whole time you see the salaryman not like presenting, but bent over, and you're kind of like, is he just scared? Like,
yeah, it's you watch the build up. You're like, I know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm not very happy about it. But you're glued to it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is you go with it. You're like, oh, yep. Okay. And you just kind of keep watching and you're like, that's fine.
I mean, that's why the drill penis sort of just, it's not much out of the ordinary. Once you've seen the metal tentacle sodomy, you're just wound down and sort of ground to a halt, and you're just like, yeah, whatever happens now happens.
I will say, that's another point worth making. For anyone who watches this film and is worried that the body horror, the sort of metal combination parts will be the grossest parts, honestly, it's not. The top 4 grossest parts are the 2 we've said, the tentacle and the drill penis. And then I think the next one would be how much they lick everything.
Oh, I know. Oh, it doesn't stop.
And also, I have to point out, I know they were on a tight budget, but could they not afford some fucking towels? Everyone in this film sweats so goddamn much.
Oh, there's one section where the salaryman is just caked in sweat, and you're like, bro.
What? It's like every section he's caked in sweat. I'm like, I understand it's like Japan, it could be hot, and also you're kind of scared, but like, someone open a window, put on a fucking fan. That feels like abuse of the actors at that point.
Honestly, it's further contributing to the fact that apartment must have really stank. Even with how hot everybody is, and even with everything that happens, like the corpse in the bathtub and the blood everywhere, it's just, bro, open a window.
Damn it, Tsukamoto, open a window. Recharge the drill penis. We need it for the next shoot. You know, it's definitely, like we said, it's a film that is really fun. And if you know what you're going into, it's a great watch. There's a lot to pick apart. It's great for horror fans. There's a lot to sort of laugh about just on an absurdist level, you know what I mean? But it is also, you know, like you said before, genuinely disturbing and worrying at times.
Yeah, I found it, I mean, with all the constraints that came with it, it's an impressive feat of filmmaking to make something so out there in the first place. I mean, it's a really interesting way to make a film, to have very, very little budget and just do something because you have so much passion for it. And to do something that's so freaky and something that would demand a higher budget to be well executed without that is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, it's a great film overall. You know, if you're watching this video and you're curious if this film is something you could watch, I would say it's an art film for sure. Be ready to not understand a lot of things, especially, you know, specific scenes where you're not sure how it leads into the next, or specific moments. Be ready to not understand bits of it. Go into it with that full appreciation of this is an art film. This is very out there. You know, if you're open-minded, you're ready for some good, unique horror. If you're ready for a strong, fast watch at 60 minutes or just over 60 minutes, Tetsuo is brilliant. It's aged well, the music's great, the story's great, the effects are incredible. It's a great gateway into that weirder side of independent, artsy horror.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of Cronenberg or Tarantino and like a slice of weird, you can't really go much better than Tetsuo. It's a very, very easy way to kill an hour, and I absolutely guarantee that you will be thinking about it for a very long time after you finish watching it. There's a lot that I really, really love about this film and the way it was made, and sort of watching everything unfurl even as you don't fully understand what's going on. But it tackles some very heavy themes in a very heavy-handed way that I think sort of bogged down the entire experience for me. But as a whole, it's an incredibly fascinating film. I don't know if it's a film that you're going to watch and think, that's my new favourite film. It's a very fascinating piece of art that you experience rather than you watch and consume.
Yeah, production-wise, visual-wise, thematic-wise, there's some really good stuff here. It definitely got me at the start with its intensity and its shock, but it does kind of start to numb down a little bit just before the climax. You know, you don't get bored per se, but you're kind of like, you're worried. You're definitely at that point worried that it's going to just repeat the first half, and it doesn't, so it's good. It pulls it back. It really doesn't. It definitely improves after that point. If I could give anyone a score and describe this, I would just say drill penis out of 10. If you like the sound of a film that's drill penis out of 10, you will adore Tetsuo the Iron Man.
Yeah, mate, if you're a fan of your metal snake sodomy, then Tetsuo the Iron Man is the film for you.
I think that might be my new band name. If you're interested in the film and you think what we've talked about and what we've shown on screen seems interesting, then give it a watch. It's only 60 minutes. You can buy the Blu-ray online. And let us know what you think of this video, because we're trying out new stuff. Can't promise that every single one of these will be this kind of scatterbrained, but to be fair, Tetsuo is pretty all over the place as well, so we'll let it slide this time. That's where we'll wrap it up on this one. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and we will see you in whatever the next video is. Bye!
Peace!